Tatra tatra pashvinvana
Swapurvesham Mahatmanam
Swapurvesha Mahatmanam
Pragiyamanam cha yashaha
Pragiyamanam cha yasha
Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam
Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam
Tatra tatra pashrinvana
Tatra tatra pashvinvana
Svapurvesha Mahatmanam
Swapurvesha Mahatmanam
Pragiyamanam cha yasha
Pragiyamanam cha yasha
Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam
Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam
Tatra Tato Pashnirnaha
Tatra tatra pashvinvana
Svapurvesham Mahatmanam
Swapurvesha Mahatmanam
Pragyam Mayanam cha yashaha
Pragiyamanam cha yasha
Krishna Mahatmaya Suchakam
Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam
Tatra Tatra Sinvanaha
Tatra tatra pashvinvana
Swapurvesham Mahatmanam
Swapurvesha Mahatmanam
Pragiyamanam Jayasaha
Pragiyamanam cha yasha
Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam
Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam
Tatra tatra pashrinvana
Tatra tatra pashvinvana
Svapurvesha Mahatmanam
Swapurvesha Mahatmanam
Pragiyamanam cha yasha
Pragiyamanam cha yasha
Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam
Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam
Tatra tatro pashvinvana
Tatra tatra pashvinvana
Svapurvesam Mahatmanam
Swapurvesha Mahatmanam
Pragiyamanam Chayashacha
Pragiyamanam cha yasha
Krishna Mahatmya Shuchakam
Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam
Tatra tatro pasvin vana
Tatra tatra pashvinvana
Vapurvesam Mahatmanam
Swapurvesha Mahatmanam
Pragiyamanam Chayasa
Pragiyamanam cha yasha
Krishna Mahatmam
Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam I think now we'll do Mataji's.
Tatra Tatra Pasranaganaya Swapasen Mahatmanam
Yamanam.
Pragiyamanam Kasarita Krishna Mahatmaya Sukham
Jai. And online, Tatra Tatra Pashmana
Swaparvesha Mahatmanam
Purvesha Mahatmanam
Agiyamanam Shayasha
Yamanam cha yasha
Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam
Mahatmya Suchakam. Okay.
Tatra Tatropashabhena
Tatra Tatra Pashinvana
Svaparvesha Mahatmanam
Vapurvesham Mahatmanam
Prajiyamanam Chayasya
Pragiyamanam cha yasha
Krishna Mahatmaya Shukam.
Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam. Okay. So now we'll chant the other two verses. And if you have that, you can chant along. Atmanam cha paritratam ashvatam nostratejasah sneham cha vishnipartanam tesham bhaktim cha keshave dibya parama santushta Prityujrimbitalochanaha mahadannani vasangsi dadhodharan mahamanaha tatra tatra. Everywhere the king visited, upashrinvanaha, continuously he heard. Svapurvesham, about his own forefathers. Mahatmanam, who were all great devotees of the Lord. Pragiyamanam, unto those who were thus addressing. Cha, also. Yashaha, glories. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Mahatmya, glorious acts. Suchakam, indicating. Atmanam, his personal self. Cha, also. Paritratam, delivered. Ashvatamnaha, of Ashvatamha. Astra, weapon. Tejasaha, powerful rays. Sneham, affection. Cha, also. Vrishnipartanam, between descendants of Vrishni and those of Prta. Tesham, of all of them. Bhaktim, devotion. Cha, also. Keshave, unto Lord Krishna. Tevyaha, unto them. Parama, extremely. Santushtaha, pleased. Priti, attraction. Ujrimbita, pleasingly open. Lochanaha, one who has such eyes. Mahadhanani, valuable riches. Vasangsi, clothing. Dado, gave in charity. Haran, necklace. Mahamanaha, one who has a broader outlook. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Wherever the king visited, he continuously heard the glories of his great forefathers, who were all devotees of the Lord. and also of the glorious acts of Lord Krishna. He also heard how he himself had been protected by the Lord from the powerful heat of the weapon of Ashwatthama. People also mentioned the great affection between the descendants of Vrishni and Pritha due to the latter's great devotion to Lord Keshava. The king, being very pleased with the singers of such glories, opened his eyes in great satisfaction. Out of magnanimity, he was pleased to award them very valuable necklaces and clothing. Purport. Kings and great personalities of the state are presented with welcome addresses. This is a system from time immemorial, and Maharaj Parikshit, since he was one of the well-known emperors of the world, was also presented with addresses of welcome in all parts of the world as he visited those places. The subject matter of those welcome addresses was Krishna. Krishna means Krishna and his eternal devotees, as the king means the king and his confidential associates. Krishna and his unalloyed devotees cannot be separated, and therefore glorifying the devotee means glorifying the Lord, and vice versa. But Maharaj Parikshit would not have been glad to hear about the glories of his forefathers like Maharaj Yudhishthir and Arjuna, had they not been connected with the acts of Lord Krishna. The Lord descends specifically to deliver his devotees. Paritranaya sadhunam. The devotees are glorified by the presence of the Lord because they cannot live for a moment without the presence of the Lord and his different energies. The Lord is present for the devotee by his acts and glories, and therefore Maharaj Parikshit felt the presence of the Lord when he was glorified by his acts, especially when he was saved by the Lord in the womb of his mother. The devotees of the Lord are never in danger, but in the material world, which is full of dangers at every step, the devotees are apparently placed into dangerous positions. And when they are saved by the Lord is glorified. Lord Krishna would not have been glorified as the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita had his devotees like the Pandavas not been entangled in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. All such acts of the Lord were mentioned in the addresses of welcome, and Maharaj Parikshit in full satisfaction rewarded those who presented such addresses. The difference between the presentation of welcome addresses today and in those days is that formerly the welcome addresses were presented to a person like Maharaj Parikshit. The welcome addresses were full of facts and figures, and those who presented such addresses were sufficiently rewarded. Whereas in the present days, the welcome addresses are presented not always with factual statements, but to please the post holder, and often they are full of flattering lies. And rarely are those who present such welcome addresses rewarded by the poor receiver. Could you mute those devotees? Could you mute those devotees, please? So, as Maharaj Parikshit traveled around the world, persons glorified him wherever he went. But Prabhupada points out that these glorifications and addresses, these were appreciated by Maharaj Parikshit because they were actually in relation to Lord Krishna. So we have this word here. It says Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam, that the line before also is Pragiyamanam Chayasha, which means unto those who were thus addressing also glories of Krishna's glorious acts they were indicating. So these addresses that all the different members of the planet were giving to Maharaj Yudhishthir were actually indicating Lord Krishna's glories. So the devotee is glorious because that person is in relation to the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada has many purports where he talks about the glories of devotional service and how one who performs this devotional service becomes glorious. He also had one statement where he told one of his disciples to go on glorifying the Guru Parampara, and you yourself will become glorious. That sometimes we like to hear that, oh, I'll become glorious. Who likes to hear that? Right, because we're conditioned. Right? We like to hear that we'll become glorious when we perform devotional service, right? But these are attractive features of devotional service, but at the end of it, we'll just appreciate devotional service because that is the best way to glorify Krishna. So devotional service is all about glorifying Krishna. And this Sankirtan movement is all about getting everybody to glorify Krishna, as many as possible. We should never be satisfied with how many friends we have practicing full-time devotional service, because there's always more souls. There's always more people that Krishna wants to send us, that Lord Chaitanya wants to send. And if we stay vigilant, we stay attentive on the service at hand, then we're showing Krishna that we're ready to practice ourselves at the high level, which will help us support those who want to come, or that he wants to come to devotional service too. So in the purport, Prabhupada spent some good time discussing how Krishna and his unalloyed devotees cannot be separated, and therefore glorifying the devotee means glorifying the Lord and vice versa. So who has felt some small scraps of ecstasy when we do the Guru Puja? Something is there, huh? That's why we like it, don't we? Because we're feeling some bliss and connection with the spiritual platform. And when we glorify the Lord's pure devotee, then we're glorifying Krishna. He takes it that way, and he also instructs us that way. This is his he's the topmost person, that he is not envious of anybody. So Name dveshyosti na priyaha, that actually I'm not envious of anybody. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, but so when the pure devotee receives glorification, worship, it's not that Krishna is saying, hey, you can't have that. That's called envy, when we want somebody's position or somebody's resources. That's called envy. But actually, we should know, I mentioned this recently, right? That the Father and the Son, they shouldn't have any envy for one another. That the Father wants the Son to receive all credit, all glory, and to surpass him in every way. And the Father or the Son wants all the glory to go to his Father. My Father has actually done so much for me. It's all his blessings, all his benedictions. He's tirelessly endeavoring to support me. So this becomes very sweet. Very sweet. Actually, this is the reciprocation which is our birthright, that we should all be returning to this mood, to this attitude, to give all glories to Lord Krishna, who's the Supreme Father of everyone. Aham bija pradapita. He is the possessor of all opulences, Bhagavan. 6 opulences in full. And he shares with his children. And it's the right of the children to, to make use of some of those opulences which the Father gives, right? So, the topmost opulence in the spiritual world is actually love. Yesterday I heard that Prabhupada would sometimes quote from the Goswamis that in the spiritual world there are the Kalpavriksha trees where you can get anything that you want. But still, in general, the devotees there simply pick a flower and bring that to Krishna. And that in one small corner of the Goloka Vrindavan, there's more opulence than all of the Vaikunthas. Because what is that opulence? That opulence is love. Prema. Of course, prema is also there in the Vaikunthas, but so this love, this is our birthright. And we can enter back into this by glorifying the Lord and his devotees. This is the Sankirtan movement. Today is the auspicious appearance day of Srimati Radharani. And we are in remembrance of her, and we are praying to her, Mother Hara, to engage us in Krishna's service. And we are asking to be brought under the fold of her divine protection. That what is that protection? That protection isn't necessarily no troubles, right? Who has troubles in Bhagavatam class? Right? My back hurts. My mind is bothered. I actually want to go, or I wish someone else would talk. That's okay. But we have some troubles. But what? Of course, these are not much compared to the great devotees. And actually, Krishna will only give us as much troubles as we can handle, in one sense. But one step at a time. One step at a time. So, Mother Kunti and the Pandavas, they were undergoing amazing tribulations. And because they were always rescued by Krishna, then Krishna actually got the credit. And the glory is also go to the devotee who stays fixed in their devotional service. There's one verse from Lord Brahma in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto that devotee who goes on offering obeisances from the core of his heart. Of course, obeisances are in three parts. There's a pranam mantra that you say verbally. You actually vibrate that loud enough that somebody can hear you next to you. Pranam mantra, voice, also in the mind and in the heart, of course, or the body, the consciousness, the body, and the words. Like that. So that devotee who goes on paying those obeisances from the core of his heart in serving the Lord in spite of all tribulations, which the devotee thinks are actually coming from my misbehavior, that person becomes the rightful inheritant of the kingdom of God. And so this is back to the point that this Sankirtan movement, this is the mercy of Srimati Radharani. This is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Srimati Radharani and Lord Chaitanya and Krishna together. And if we want the mercy of Radharani, then this is the process. Engage fully in the Sankirtan mission. Use energy, time, and resources full for propagation of the holy name. That is the real religious propaganda in this age. Let us help people chant Lord Krishna's holy names. So this is Lord Chaitanya's mission, and we are humbly asking, begging to be part of this, to be an instrument to the previous acharyas, who themselves are expert. Tatrati dakshad. They're actually expert at doing arrangements to please the intimate associates of Lord Krishna. So Krishna is never alone. And we have to take shelter of this Sankirtan movement in the bona fide process of the Guru Parampara. That means we hear the message and we speak the message as it is, with no adulterations. Of course, the dose or what we administer, that can also be adjusted. It's not that we have to give the same dose to every patient, but if we sincerely pray, we try to be avoiding the offenses, then we can try to chant attentively and we can try to hear this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. If we do that and we follow all these rules and regulations which Prabhupada had given, which are actually his mercy, then Krishna will help us speak the right words for the right people and they can come to devotional service. But it's not that we're making the devotees. Lord Chaitanya is actually pulling them. Srila Prabhupada's words are actually pulling them. Purity is the force. What purity do I have? Only if we repeat it as it is. So, Prabhupada also makes a point here in the purport that nowadays the addresses are actually more or less bogus, and that we don't know the etiquette. That's one of our problems. And we don't have good character on either side. Those who address or those who receive the addresses, the praise. But in due time, this movement will produce so many great personalities who are worthy of being glorified in relation to Lord Krishna again and again. And we shouldn't withhold such wonderful glorification of the devotees. So that's that. And are there any devotees that want to say something on these topics? Bhakti Avatar Prabhu? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. You were saying that we should give every ounce we have to propagating the Sankirtan movement. Basically, give everything to spreading. So how can I do that if I don't like chanting Hare Krishna? You're saying we need to get everybody to chanting Hare Krishna, spreading the whole glories of the name. So how can I do that if I don't like the name?
Well, the more you give, the more you get. So there's one book called Nam Amrita. I highly recommend to find those teachings, because this book is filled with all Prabhupada's statements on the practice of the holy name. And in there I was reading once that the disciple receives the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra from the spiritual master. And if that disciple develops the similar mood in chanting, then they will achieve perfection of that. And so how to actually get that mood is that we hear the glories of the holy name. We continuously do our chanting and we hear the glories of the holy name, and we associate with devotees who have a taste for the holy name. If you are upset that you don't have taste, that's a great place to be. This lamentation is very purifying. There's a song by Narottam Das Thakur, Gora Pahu, and it's a lamentation that I was simply drinking the poison because I don't have any taste for Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. I didn't join. Of course, we know that he propagated the movement himself, so how does that make sense? But this lamentation, this is very purifying. Of course, he's not in that position. Prabhupada writes in the purport to that song that actually he's presenting the position of ourselves. This should be our lamentation, that I'm simply absorbed in the material activities and I have nothing to do with this Hare Krishna mantra and this movement. But we don't feel that type of lamentation. But when we hear these devotees who are fully dedicated to the mission, and that's their lamentation, and it's not a fake, it's very real. They can be in that consciousness. Then that somehow that can enter our heart, if by their mercy, their association, and we can actually get a little shred of humility. And we can feel, man, it's totally wacky. I don't have any taste for the holy name. I can't be attentive. I can't actually be serious. Every time I chant, I just succumb to distractions. And I know they're my problem. I succumb to sleep, or I don't really care about the holy name. This is my problem. This is unfortunate. How lowly am I? What have I done? Why can I not get it together? This lamentation is very purifying. Because what is the result of that? Then we go for shelter, right? We go for prayer. We become a beggar. And we go and we beg the personalities. We go and we beg the Vaishnava. We go and we beg the spiritual master. Please give me the holy name. No? By one drop of your mercy, make me more humble than a blade of grass. Then I can actually chant. When will that day be mine? You know? There's many songs like that too. Goranga bolite habe. When will that day be mine when I'm crying to say the name of Goranga, and tears are spurting from my eyes when I chant Hare Krishna. So this lamentation is good. That's a good step. We know that we're not attentive. That's the first step to getting attentive. And we have to continue with the process with determination and patience. It will come. I was at the Sadhu Sangha, and one Prabhupada disciple named, I think his name, I forgot his name, but he's a nice devotee from Dallas Temple. And he said he went to Sachinandana Swami and he asked him, Sachinandana Swami, how do I actually become attentive in my chanting? How do I just hear the holy name? He said, desire. You have to keep desiring it. Don't lose that desire. So this is a cultivation. All this is all a cultivation. I don't have any power to do anything without Krishna's help. But if I desire it, because we're coming in parampara, then he may bestow. He may bestow that. So the lamentation is good. That will help us increase the desire. Maturnath Prabhu?
This point that Prabhupada is making in the purport, Krishna and his unalloyed devotees cannot be separated. Therefore, glorifying the devotee means glorifying the Lord, and vice versa. I just wanted to kind of bring up the Lord's devotees. Sometimes they play the part, or they're playing the part of the tattva of the Lord himself, like in Chaitanya Leela. And Lord Chaitanya, he's none different than Radharani and Krishna, and so are his associates. They're tattva, they're playing the part of the Lord in different bodies simultaneously. And Srimati Radharani, she's also the Lord. And she's taking birth 15 days after Krishna. They're inseparable. They're actually the same. And it's not that we're worshiping that are especially that especially apply today on this special day in the purport. Such as the devotees, they can't live without the presence of the Lord. Right? We see in in Krishna book or 10th canto that his devotees are like losing it because he's not there. This Viplambar Rag, this mood of deep separation. We can't even understand this, but this is the love that they have for Krishna. And Krishna has this kind of love for this personality. This is why we worship her. Not because she's just Krishna's girlfriend or no. And the point he's making about the devotee he wants to, or Maharaj Parikshit, he's in a especially special case. In the purport he's mentioning how that he was able to remember the Lord, especially when he got out of the womb. This is the opposite for the conditioned souls. We're in the womb, we're getting eaten by all types of little bugs, and we're getting like picked apart. All the food that the mother is eating is totally like burning our tender flesh. We're cramped in this tiny little womb of the mother and we're growing. It's the most uncomfortable situation one can even imagine. And we're just praying, Lord Hari, please save me. Please get me out of this horrible condition. And then he lets us out and we forget. Right? We totally forget about our position. And we're totally covered over by ignorance. We're a baby. We're just busy crying and pooping. And we forget our relationship with the Lord when we're brought into this world. But Maharaj Parikshit, he's so glorious that he actually remembered his position, especially when he was brought out of the womb. Who are these personalities? Hearing recently that the devotee who, when he's born in the pure devotee, I forget who it was. He was a pure devotee, and he was born into this world, and he was so upset that he didn't always remember the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, that he was praying to go back into the womb. Even though there is so much suffering in the womb, he would rather be in the womb where he can remember his Lord 24/7 than be out in this material world, where it's tinged, where the memory is coming and going. And then when somebody would go in the womb, they have trust, the utmost trust in the Lord, and the Lord sees the deep calling for him, and the Lord takes away the pain of the devotee, takes away the suffering. So I just thought I'd bring a few of these points up that Prabhupada made in the purport, because it's a very nectar-filled purport. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, devotees. So, did you have something, Gio?
I just wanted to ask, what is the process for serving the devotees more, just more in general? If you could explain that, please. Thank you.
Yes. We should aspire to become the servant of the servant of the servant. So, we get that desire by associating with those who also have that desire. There's a verse from Nama Sankirtan by Narottam Das Thakur, which we sing daily. And in this prayer, again and again, he's actually praying that to become the servant of the Vaishnavas and the spiritual master. And he even prays that Tadara charana sevi bhakte sanebas janame janame hoy e abhilash. So this means my desire is that wherever there are those devotees of the six Goswamis, that will be my place, birth after birth, that I actually live there. I want to associate with those persons, you know. So, so we associate with the great souls who want to serve the devotees. Then we can start to get that desire ourselves. But then the practical process, Prabhupada actually explains. We have a practice, we call each other Prabhu. That means that that's my master. You know, we call each other Prabhu. That means that you're my master. So if we actually move ourselves to that position, if you're my master, that means I'm your servant. And the word servant, that means I have to serve. What is a servant without some service to render? So this is important, and we practice this. So whenever you address a devotee and you call him Prabhu, but in general, the best way that we can help the devotees in general is by following the orders of our spiritual master, which come to us in Guru Parampara. So if we become a humble servant of our immediate authorities, then they can help us to know how to interact with all the different devotees and serve the best we possibly can. They'll say, okay, with this devotee, better you stay friends. Don't correct each other. Just chant together. Engage in Sankirtan. Because you're both addicted, you know, or you want to be addicted to this. So why don't you just do that together? You know, chant Hare Krishna mantra together. Okay, with this devotee, then you can have a different relationship. So those are some practical points. But the desire has to be there. And yeah. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Radhastami Mahotsava ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. All glories to the Simul devotees.